Hello and welcome back to Movie Mondays. This is JC Productions, and today we're going to be doing episode 5, which is A Bug's Life, which is the second Pixar film directed by John Lasseter in 1998. So, this week, because it's Bug's Life, which is not much to do about Bug's Life, but we're going to get straight into it. I do have on my shelf a flick from Bug's Life. I had that ages ago, so just a little Pixar nod there. But I've got my book again, so we can go through the cast of Bug's Life. Get to the page, okay. So I've got my notes. Flick is played by Dave Foley, who is in Kids in the Hall, which is a Canadian sketch show. He was in Superstar as Lowell Anderson and News Radio as Dave Nelson. And then Atta is Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who was in Seinfeld as Elaine, Black Widow as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, Veep as Selena Meyer, and 30 Rock as Liz Lemon for the 30 Rock live show, which 30 Rock is a great TV series if you haven't seen it. You then have Dot, who is played by Hayden Panettiere, who was in Nashville as Juliet Barnes, Heroes as Claire Bennett, Malcolm in the Middle as Jessica, and then you've got the Queen. There's the Queen, played by Phyllis Diller, who was in The Pruitts of Southampton as Phyllis Pruitt, and Mad Monster Party as the Bride of Frankenstein. We then have next, we have Hopper, who is played by Kevin Spacey, who is in House of Cards as Francis Underwood, American Beauty as Lester Burnham, and The Usual Suspects as Roger Verbal Kint. We then have Molt, who is Hopper's brother. He is played by Richard Kind, who was Bing Bong in Inside Out, Ira Rosenblum in Young Sheldon, and Paul Lasseter in Spin City. Next, we have Francis the Ladybird, who is played by Dennis Leary, who was Diego in Ice Age, Tommy Gavin in Rescue Me, and George Stacy in The Amazing Spider-Man, which is the Andrew Garfield ones, in case you were wondering. You then have Heimlich there, who is played by Joe Ranft, who is Red, Jerry Recycled Batteries, and Peter Built in Cars. He was also Jax in Finding Nemo, and Heimlich and Wheezy in Toy Story 2. So, quite a few Pixar films for him. Next on the list is Manny the Mantis, who was played by Jonathan Harris, who was Dr. Zachary Smith in Lost in Space, Jerry in Toy Story 2, and Mr. Piper in Land of the Giants. We then have Gypsy, the Gypsy Moth, who is played by Madeline Kahn, who was Lily von Stupp in Blazing Saddles, Al Sleazo patron in The Muppet Movie, and Mrs. White in Clue. Then is Bim. You have Brad Garrett, who is Robert Barone in Everybody Loves Raymond, Hook Hand in Tangled, and he is now in series 2 of Not Dead Yet, which is a TV series, which is a good TV series. It's on Disney Plus for UK viewers. I'm not sure where it is in US, maybe Hulu. But there's another Superstore actress in that show, which is why I started watching it. But it is a good series. It's about someone who sees dead people because they write obituaries, and every time they get a new obituary and they see that person, it's quite a good concept. But he's also been Gusto in Ratatouille, and Bloat in Finding Nemo. You then have Tuck and Roll, who was played by Mike McShane, who was Professor Keenbean in Richie Rich, and he was Grail in Doctor Who Angels Take Manhattan, and Friar Tuck in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Then you've got P.T. Flea, who was John Ratzenberger, who was Ham in Toy Story, Mac in Cars, and I put this one in because I didn't know who was in it. He was a Rebel Force Major Derlin in The Empire Strikes Back, which is Star Wars, just in case you didn't realise. But yeah, so I didn't know he was in Star Wars. I know he's in a lot of Pixar stuff, but I didn't know he was in Star Wars. Then we have Thumper, who's played by David Al Lander, who was Frankie the Flea in Tom and Jerry the movie, and Squiggy in Laverne and Shirley. Next, we have Slim, the stick insect, who is played by David Hyde Pierce, who was Niles Crane in Frasier, Cecil Terwilliger in Sideshow Bob's brother in The Simpsons, and Dr. Doppler in Treasure Island. And then finally we have Rosie, played by Bonnie Hunt, who was Kate Baker in Cheaper by the Dozen, Sarah Whittle in Jumanji, Sally in Cars, Dolly in Toy Story 4, Flint in Monsters Inc., Bonnie Hops in Zootopia, and Alice Newton in Beethoven. So a lot of Disney films there for that actress. But that's all the cast list that we've got for this film, which quite a good cast. There's when I was looking through it, there's a lot of people that I recognised in it, and I was quite surprised at that. I was like, oh, that's that from, but yeah. But as I've just said, things what they're from. So the overview of A Bug's Life, it's a colony of ants who their whole thing is they have to keep making offerings of food for the grasshoppers, because the grasshoppers come in and terrorize these ants, and they do it so they can get food without having to do any work themselves. And they do threaten to harm the ants if they don't do what they're told, which is why the ants, for most of their year, is just working to get food for themselves to survive over the winter, and then also to feed the grasshoppers. So it starts off with the film, they're collecting all their food, and they're satisfied with what they've done. They go, oh, we've done our offering for the year. And so they go down into their anthill. I was going to say bunker, but it's an anthill because they're bugs. And then the grasshoppers come, but Flick, the ant, the main character, he has his inventions of how to get more food quicker, so they don't have to take as much time as they want, and they can get more food. So he's like, oh, look at this invention, it'd be very useful. And then that invention ends up knocking over the offering that they've done, which they lose all the food, so the grasshoppers aren't happy about that, and so they threaten them. They say you have to, I think, isn't it 4 times as much food by the next time they come back, which is when the last tree falls off of the tree. So they don't have long to replace all the food that's just been lost. And so they're all panicking, figuring what we're going to do. And so Flick sets out and to try and find help for their ants to get food or to fight the grasshoppers. And then he finds help, and then it all goes to a point where they battle the grasshoppers, and everything does end up working out all right, because the grasshopper dies at the end, and one of his brother then goes on to join the circus, which I'd say that's good, because he would none of the other grasshoppers actually liked him, so it's good that he's moved on with his life. But I'm going to get into the thoughts of what I had whilst I was watching the film, which wasn't too long ago. When the leaf falls and the ant doesn't know where the line is, that's a scene. It's a good scene, because what I saw is, ants, it's like when they get separated, they I think sometimes they can die. So it's like there's the whole thing of like, yeah, it starts when they get in the food and the leaf falls on the ground whilst they're walking in line, and he's just there like, I'm lost, and then there's someone running down from the anthill going, don't panic, we're professionals, go around the leaf, and he's like, but I can't see the line. So yeah, that was just a very dramatic moment, but also that is how ants act in real life, which is quite hysterical. I've seen a video. Someone puts a piece of food on the floor for an ant. So they're basically trying to like gaslight an ant. So then they go, oh wow, look at this food. And then it goes running off to tell its other ants in the ant hill. And then as soon as the ant's gone, the person moves the food and then just puts, I don't know, do they put like a stick there? Or they just don't put anything there? And then the ant comes back, and then they're trying to make the ant look like a liar to the other ants because there's no food there, even though the ant saw it was there. So it's just really like gaslighting an ant, which is funny to watch, but also has that ant now just gone hungry because of that joke. I don't know. I don't know how ants live. There's a line in it where they said acting like the sky is falling, of which I thought Chicken Little, but then I think that was in the early 2000s. So I think this was before Chicken Little came out as a film. So I don't think that's a reference to Chicken Little, even though that's why I wrote it down. But yeah, after reading that it was directed and published in 1998, yeah, I don't believe that. I put Dot is amazing with attitude and a love for Flick's inventions. In my notes it says 5s. But yeah, so it's just like everyone else just really hates Flick, and then Dot's always there supporting him and it's just like cheering him on, and it's like that gives him a bit of hope. But yeah, she's like quite got an attitude. Like with Atta, she's trying to talk to her and she's just like, you're not the queen yet. And it's like, you're like 5. What are you doing? 5. Ants don't live that long. There's an analogy of needing to take time to be the best that you can be, because there's like the whole thing of he's like, oh, think of that big tree up there. That started out as this tiny little seed, and it's like it's like you need to give yourself room to grow, and it's like kind of like a moral sort of thing, and it's like something that keeps being referenced throughout. After he loses the food offering, I thought if I was in that situation where you've just ruined all the other ants' life, I don't think I'd be able to confront the other ants if I lost all the food, because they would riot, and that would just be too much pressure. I'd be like, well, yeah, I'm gonna go. I can't stay here after I've just endangered everyone else. Hopper doesn't like his brother at all. His mum had to make him promise not to kill him on his deathbed, because every time Malt walks into the room, Hopper's there like, oh, what do you want? I'd like to leave. So they're not the best of friends. There's when they say about when Flick says about leaving the island to go and get help to get more food. The Queen says leaving the island is suicide, and like, so I was surprised they could use that in the film, because normally, like nowadays, that's a very like sensitive thing to say in a film, and you probably wouldn't get away with saying it in a kids' film. But for it to be in The Bug's Life there, because like as well on YouTube, it's not really a word you're able to use because of its meaning. So even if it's a reference like that, normally it's like you're not like, it's like what's it called? A censored sort of thing. It gets censored on things, but it wasn't in The Bug's Life. They got away with using it. Flick offered to go and help outside the island to get more food for the offering, which the royals decided is a good idea because Flick would be gone for ages. Yeah, they had no hope in him staying there, coming back. So they said, yeah, you go and do your mission, because it means he's gone, then he can't ruin anything else for them. And I had a question, which I haven't Googled, even though I did Google bug facts for this video. But I thought ants in real life can't leave their colony, right? Because from what I've seen, does it not kill the ants if they don't have their colony? Like, if they get lost, I'm sure they freak out and die or something. I don't know if that's accurate, but I think that's what I've heard, but I don't know. Dot is Flick's #1 supporter. There's a bit in the circus performance where uh, Slim is dressed as a flower, and you've got Heimlich there. He's like, "I'm a cute little bumblebee," which is, I think that's the best line in the film, which could lead into my favourite character. They put on the dangerous performance of the cannon shooting of tuck and roll together, fired at a cloth of gasoline. But everything goes wrong, and its circus master, P.T. Flea, gets set aflame. He then fires everyone, which is kind of ridiculous, thing is it's your idea to do that trick, and just because it's gone wrong, what do you expect? Because what started it? Was it no Heimlich? Was it started? But they're all blindfolded anyway, so none of them knew it was going wrong, and then it just got out of hand, really. There's a Pizza Planet truck outside the motorhome, which we saw because that's like where the bug zapper thing is, in which we see a moth get killed in that bug zapper, and which led me to question, what is the kill count for the Bugs Life film? And so I googled it. It says there's 6 overall deaths, one being Hopper's mother pre-film, so like off-screen before we watched it, and then the other 5 being during the film. So that's throughout the rest of the film, because 3 get killed by the grains, Hopper gets killed by the bird, and Harry the moth gets killed in the bug zapper. So that's 5, and then the 6 including his mother. Although there was the point, because at the bar there's a waitress that gives a slug a dish that has salt, because it's like meant to be like a joke where he's just there like, "Oh, I told you I couldn't, like, not to have salt," and then to which I thought, does that not kill him? Because he wasn't on the kill count, but is it actually 7? Because salt kills slugs, and he's just had a dish of salt. So would he not be listed on the kill count as well? I don't know, because it was in there as a joke, but because they didn't show his death, it's like, does that not count? There is a mime bug in there, because when Flick's going into the city, he goes walking, and there's like all taxis. It's meant to be like look like a big city of like tour buses and everything, and there's like a bug that's like a mime, and he's there going like, ooh, going around, which I just thought was a funny addition. The amount of ridiculing and abuse that Francis gets for being a ladybug because everyone thinks he's a girl is terrible, but it's definitely something that happens in real life, unfortunately, and not to ladybugs, to actual people, which is it's just ridiculous, because it's like it's something that happens in real life, but yeah, it's just it's like shown in the film, so it's like at least there's like thing of like what can actually happen for like people who say going like, oh, because like people get like there's just like a lot of horrible people in the world, in our real world, and it's like, so I don't know, it's just like to be able to see that like you're not alone throughout stuff like that, even though it is just a kid's song, but it also then can help lead a conversation for people to be like, oh, so those like, so parents can go to their kids like, oh, see how those flies being mean to that ladybird, just because like they think he's a woman even though he's not. So it's just like quite interesting to see how they handled that, and I thought it was like quite interesting to look into on the film. But again, it is quite annoying to see them flies, and those flies are probably the worst characters. I'll put it in there. Yeah, I'd say they're the worst characters. I was going to say Hopper, but at least he's interesting. The amount Flip thinks the circus crew are warriors that can help his colony, while the crew believe that he's a talent scout. So he goes, because they're like when the flies go to fight Francis, because he got annoyed with them. He goes like, oh yeah, let's do our Robin Hood's like skit, and then they go up there, and then he's like, oh, we're warriors, and yeah, and then Flick sees that, and he's like, oh, they can help with the colony, and then my mind's gone blank. But then he's there saying like, oh, they can help with the colony, and he's like, oh, I saw you. You were great doing that thing. We've got a thing for you back home. It's like there to stop the grasshoppers with the food." And then they're going like, "Oh, he's a talent scout. There's like an interactive diner dinner," and that sort of thing. But so they're both just very misunderstood of what each other was saying. Why do the other kids treat Dot so badly in the film as well? Because she's a princess in it, and they're just like always like, "Oh, look at Dot, she's so small," and like just really ridiculing her a lot. And so it's just like, she's a princess. Couldn't she just like get her mum, the queen, to just like threaten to execute them or something, just to leave her alone? I mean, the amount of disrespect those other little ants have, it's unbelievable. The ants use snail shells for their music. Isn't that like basically using part of a dead body? Because snail shells are part of them, right? So by using that, is that not using like a part of a dead bug? Which isn't great to think about. The presentation of the team fighting the grasshopper was amazing, and the colour draining from Heimer's face when they drew him cut in half. The horror on all of their faces when they realise why they are there and that it wasn't part of a show. That scene was hysterical, and that is probably my favourite part, where they're just like, "Oh look, we drew you fighting the grasshoppers," and it's just like everyone is just shocked at that point. After that, the circus bugs go to leave, with Flick running after them to convince him to help, when a bird spots them and is ready for dinner, while at the same time Dot is falling down with a dandelion seed, and the bird flies right for her to eat her. But luckily, Francis saves her in time, but gets injured in the leg by a rock and then knocked unconscious, which throughout this whole thing, it's like he comes across as like a very like angry sort of bug, and that's probably just because of the amount of like horribleness that everyone has like put him through, because it's like, as I said earlier, it's just like all the comments he gets about how he looks and everything. It's just like, so I think that is like why he's more like guarded and like more like aggressive and not showing emotion to people a lot. But throughout the film, he does progressively like let his guard down, like around with the little ants, which he calls the blueberries, and he like teaches them different stuff, and he's like, "Oh, let's do games and stuff." And so like even afterwards, he decides to stick around the anthill just so he can teach them some more stuff, because he's actually enjoying their company quite a lot. And so that was a quite good character development from start to finish, where it's just like he does become more comfortable within himself as well, which is not like it's like very deep emotional like change throughout a children's film, basically, even though it is a film that could be watched by any age and loved by any age. After a lot of teamwork helping each other out, the bugs manage to get everyone back to safety and are welcomed with applause from the ants, which the circus bugs enjoyed, because they didn't get a lot of applause from their circus show, because they were quite terrible in the circus, to be honest. After talks with Flick about her concerns that no one believes that she can be queen, and that they are all waiting for her to screw up, which Flick knows that experience quite well, which makes Atta realise that all the things she's put Flick through as well. Mm-hmm. The grasshoppers, which I noticed, there's a part where it's like they go to cut to where the grasshoppers live, which is like quite like a desert, and they're playing darts with mosquitoes. They just like keep picking it, and it's like ching, and like throwing it, and it's like their nose just like goes into the board, which was quite creative actually, if you try and think of like what bugs you could use for that. And it says like they tell the reason of why the grasshoppers get back to the keep going back to the ants, and it's so that they can keep the ants in line, and so they don't want the ants to stand up to them and figure out that they can outnumber the grasshoppers 100 to 1, because there is a ton of ants in that anthill. And then when we go back, Rosie's talking to one of the ants. It's like about her husband, and then she says about how her 12th husband died to one of the ants, and that she's now a widow, a Black Widow widow. Joke. Flick came up with an idea to make a fake bird to scare the grasshoppers away after Atta tells him Hopper is scared of them. So with the help of all the bugs and the rest of the ant colony, they put the plan into action, and they make this bird out of like leaves and like different like nut shells and everything. And when the ants are celebrating before the grasshoppers come, Flick tells the circus bugs how he can sneak them out of the island, as they were previously not wanting to be there when the grasshoppers were going to show up. They tell him that they've decided to stay longer. As I said, this is like when Francis was there saying like, oh, I said I'd teach like the kids this like thing. And so it's like he's staying because he's actually found like enjoyment there. And again, all of them have found enjoyment there. They're like quite happy celebrating with these ants. And then P.T. Flea turns up looking for his performers, as him getting lit on fire was a hit with the crowds. And this is how the ants find out that they aren't warriors, and that the bird was Flick's ideas, which terrifies the ants because all his ideas have gone terrible for them in the past, so they don't believe in him. And they then banish him. They go like, oh, you can leave because you lied to us, Flick. It's like originally he also thought they were warriors, and then after finding out, it's like, what are you meant to do if you just given hope to your whole tribe colony? And then you find out, oh, I made a mistake. They're not actually warriors. It's like, I think I'd be in the same situation as Flick. If that were to happen, I'd be there saying, well, I can't tell him now. So yeah, you just hope that everything goes well. After that happens, Hopper arrives and is disgraced by the lack of food. Dot overhears that the grasshoppers plan to take all the food on the island and then crush the queen, just to set an example to all the other ants. Dot goes to find Flick to get him to come back and help, and the circus bugs join him. Flick goes to use the fake bird they made to scare the grasshoppers away, while the circus bugs distracted them. So they went back up in their circus truck cart thing, and then they put on a show. So they're doing like, oh, the vanishing act, where they got the queen to safety. He was there saying like, oh, I want an audience participation, or do a transformation. And then that's when they swapped the queen with Gypsy in it and got her. They put her under Dim's wing so that she was covered and they couldn't find her. And the plan works great until P.T. Flea oh wait, no, I've done that bit wrong, haven't I? But they, like when they had the fake bird. Oh no, it was this bit. The plan goes great because they set the bird down with Flick and the kids in it. And P.T. Flea, he wasn't aware of this plan, so he thinks it's a real bird, and so he sets it on fire with the match and the gasoline. And this makes the grasshoppers mad because they've now realised that it's not a real bird, because at first they were terrified. I was going to say something now. I'm not going to swear. So, yeah, they're terrified. But as well, as that's happened, the Flick and the ant children are in this now on fire bird. So they have to quickly get out of there. But the grasshoppers are mad, and Hopper starts attacking Flick. Flick doesn't back down, though, and inspires the other ants to stand up for themselves, which scares the grasshoppers off, apart from Hopper, who they plan to shoot out of a cannon. However, it starts to rain, which makes the ants run into hiding, and Hopper yet again attacks Flick. Flick comes up with the idea of how to trick Hopper and leads him to the real bird's nest, the same bird that tried to attack Dot earlier. But Hopper believes that this is another fake, until the bird grabs him and feeds him to the baby birds, which kills him, which is another reason why there's like 6 dead people in A Bug's Life. And the ants then go on to live a happy life because their main threat's gone now. And the circus bugs leave to continue their travels, and Molt has joined them as part of the circus. And I think they changed his name to Tiny as part of the act. And I think he becomes like a strongman for them, of what I've read in the Pixar book anyway. And then we then also see the new love between Atta and Flick, because throughout the whole thing it's been like a battle between them of they're like how like she's always like quite stern and like trying to be an upstanding citizen. She's just trying to follow the rules and make sure everything works out great, whilst he's more of like a throw caution to the wind and all that sort of thing. So he's like quite, it's like they're opposites, but I think it works well for both of them. So yeah, great. That's just great. And that's where the film ends. But it has some great bloopers at the end, like they did with a lot of the old Pixar films, like, you know, when they did in Toy Story, to make it look like the people in the film are actors. It's like in the Bugs Life, it was like the bugs are actors. So they had the thing of when Atta was talking with Hopper, and it's like it's like they made like he's laughing and like she's laughing because they try and make it look like it's a blooper reel, basically, like similar when they did in Toy Story 2 with like all them different scenes. But it's not something you really see in Pixar anymore, which is quite upsetting, to be honest, because it was quite funny to see when that happened. And that's because that's my reviews done, or my thoughts done. But I have now got a list of bug facts, which I will read off because I thought these are quite interesting. So, number 1. Ants have the largest brains of any insect. Each ant brain has 250,000 brain cells and the processing power of a small computer, which is insane when you think about it. In that tiny little bug, there's that much. Insane. Female gypsy moths are usually bigger than males, but many of them cannot fly. Number 3. Rhinoceros beetles are so named because they're large horns, but they cannot bite or sting, so are harmless to humans, which I didn't know that. I thought they were actually harmful to humans because of the horns. So like normally when you see that, you go, oh, that's going to be dangerous. Of course, it's probably got like venom or something. But no, they're actually harmless, apparently. Yeah, but you might want to double check that. I did find these on National Geographic, but just in case you go and touch one, I'm not going to be held liable for that. Some male species of stick insects can fly, which actually shocked me to learn because I had no idea that they could fly. I mean, that's like a flying stick in the air. It's like, that'd be mental. You go looking up, go, what? That's a falling stick. But no, it's a bug. A ladybird might eat more than 5,000 insects in its lifetime. And to think it's, again, another small thing, eating 5,000 of something, you wouldn't believe it. Fruit flies were the first living creatures sent into space, which, along like other animals that followed that, like dogs and monkeys. Dragonflies have been on the Earth for 300 million years, which I had no idea they were here that long. A bee's wings beat 190 times a second. That's 11,400 times a minute, which if I had to move anything like that, I think I'd just be exhausted all the time, more than already. Caterpillars have 12 eyes. A hornet's favourite food is a bee. That was like a suspense I left. A hornet's favourite food is a bee. What? No, that's unbelievable. Because like normally I think, oh, hornets and bees are like basically cousins, but apparently they eat bees. It's crazy, man. Grasshoppers existed before dinosaurs. A single honeybee colony can produce 100 kilograms of honey each year. That's 220 jars. So for every bee colony, that's 220 jars. Which, when you think about how many jars is probably sold in like around the world, that's not a lot. Because now you like going to have a ton of bee colonies. Which also, seeing as there's like now at this time in the world, there's now less and less bees because they just keep getting killed off. And so it's something that needs to be done about, because if the bees disappear, then we're screwed basically. So look after the bees, people. Go plant some flowers. You watching this video now, go outside and plant some flowers for the bees. Do it. And yeah, that's the end of the bug facts. I thought there was another, but it's not. Okay, so for my favourite character, I am thinking Flick or Heimlich. for them because Hamlet just has a lot of funny lines. But I'm probably going to go with Flick because just overall he's just been like a great character for it, and also that is probably like normally I don't like normally picking the main character as my favorite character because it just feels like well duh, and also just very like basic really. But Dot is a great character as well because, as I said, of like her how she believes in Flick and how she's just very like she stands up for herself and it's like she's very determined. But I'm going to go with Flick as my favorite character. The best moment, as I said, was that whole part of when they got shown them fighting the grasshoppers on that like presentation by the school kids on that leaf, and then they're just there like, wait, what? And the realization sets in. So that's my favorite moment. And then we're going to do the ranking of A Bug's Life, which we have our board here. I'll lower it a bit. There's our leaderboard. And we've got our, oh, get the blue side. Got our Bug's Life card. And where am I going to put this? I'd say I'd like watching again. I'd probably put it above Kill Bill. The Goonies. Oh, this is quite difficult now because that's a good film, but also I did really like A Bug's Life as well because I do like Pixar films. So I'm gonna put it above Goonies and under Hoodwinked as my final verdict. So currently, as the podcast ranking goes, it's Toy Story, Hoodwinked, A Bug's Life, The Goonies, then Kill Bill. Which, yeah, I'd say I'm happy with that. Don't know how your ranking goes, but maybe you can leave that in the comments if you so wish. Next, we're going to go look at the reviews for Letterboxd, which we're going to sort by... Let's do lowest, then highest, because then we can like drop down expectations and then build them back up by the end of the film. The video. Okay, so I've done it by lowest now. Okay, half a star. I hope all of these bugs get crushed. Ant King told me to see this, and I think the fat guy is scary, and you know me, I hate scary guys unless they're Skibidi Toilet. I love Skibidi Toilet. I like that. I have no... Okay. I'm going to put this out there. I have no idea what Skibidi Toilet is. I mean, I keep seeing it, and then I also see a lot of people there like seeing it. I haven't personally seen it. But I also keep seeing references to it, and then I also see people saying about how it gets stuck in their heads and they really hate it. So I think I'm going to avoid it like the plague, and then I'll never know what it is, and I think I'd be happy with that because other people seem quite distraught to know what it is. But isn't it like it's just like I don't know. I don't know what Skibidi Toilet is. Okay, half a star for the moral, but this was great to watch. Not sure why I hate this movie with my entire being, but here we are. I hate bugs. Hate my life, seen this movie. Hate this movie, hate bugs, hate the stupid ants, and I hope they die. The Disney ride traumatized me. I actually remember hating this so much. Screw A Bug's Life, man. I remember that I hated this movie as a child. Now I know why. It's a biker drama where sad, feared troops save the day, nothing on insects or nature except a few unfunny puns. No wonder of nature, no beauty. Fever Dream, never watch this film. Bad movie. This movie was fucking horrifying. Oh my god, never watch this movie. I watched it 10 years ago and I still wake up in cold sweats. I'm warning you. Being forced to watch it so many times, I get bored as soon as I hear it start. Terrifying. So bad, didn't finish, only watched because BF said that it looked like something I'd like he thought it was bad too, hence is stopped watching it. Fuck this movie. When I was little, in the end, it scared me. Overall, the movie sucks. This movie used to bore me to death as a kid. I stepped on them. My most hated movie, the bugs are annoying and I want to vomit every time I am forced to experience a scene from this godforsaken movie. I didn't watch it today, but when I was younger, I was afraid of insects, so my mum showed me A Bug's Life so I could understand how they feel. And it made me more scared. Nothing against insects, so I'm cool with them now. Mostly. It's sad that I have to do this. This is not a bad movie, and although it's not a masterpiece, it definitely doesn't deserve 5 stars. But I absolutely hate bugs, and honestly, this movie freaked me out when I was little, and I haven't moved past that. I'm sorry, but this is my honest rating. I do recommend it, though. The bloopers are funny, I guess. Not 100% sure I ever saw the whole thing as a kid, but marking it as a rewatch anyway. Maybe I saw Ants, also 1998, or both, or neither. If I did, it wasn't by choice. I've never cared for 3D animated movies, they just feel sterile to me. On top of that, this one's a little creepy and gross visually. It isn't my type of humour either. Nothing in it stands out as great, and the writing is contrived. Some might take this as a story of workers realising their strength in numbers and outing their idle overlords, but villainy only comes from outside their nation state, and at the end of the day, they're all still bootlicking monarchists. What makes it a solid half star are the euthanasia joke and the ants declaring themselves a superior species at the end. The more I think about it, the more A Bug's Life 1998 feels like propaganda that would have been shown in a fascist ant theatre. That's a very strong opinion. Stopped watching 27 minutes in. Boring. Movie. No. This movie makes me so angry. Just crush the dang bugs, okay? Fuck that little ant twat. Ruined the entire movie. Fuck you. One of the worst Pixar movies. Also has one of the most unlikable protagonists ever put to film. It's a long review, so I have to wait for it to load. This is kind of a rare opinion, but A Bug's Life is my least favourite Pixar movie. Not only that, but I also hate this movie to death. I just feel like this movie doesn't stick out to me ever, and it's really sad how I feel like I'm the only one disliking this film. This is at the same rate as Turning Red, but Turning Red is the better film. I know this is one of the first Pixar films ever made, but for me as a kid, I never liked the film, and still to this day, I still hate it. More consistently, I do not like the plot of the story of this film. The only parts that are good about this film is the animation and voice acting. The rest can go. I absolutely don't really care about the characters that much, and also when I was in first grade after school, they will keep on playing this movie every single day, and I got really bothered by it, and I had to sit and watch. I love John Lasseter's voice work on Pixar films, but this has to be my least favourite from him. I'm probably the only one in my family that hates and dislikes this movie. There are some really cool action though. If I was growing up in the 90s and I went to go see this movie in theatres, sure, I might have liked it, but I still hate it to this day, like I said before. As a fan of Pixar, I really hate to be the only guy to freaking hate this film, and in my opinion, this is the worst Pixar movie I have ever seen, and it will always be my least favourite, not even when I get older. 0.3 for 1.5 stars. F. I hate this. Who the fuck thought this was a good idea? A very annoying and not a funny film. I'm not out here to have empathy for ants. 0 stars. Ants is better than Bug's Life because it says like it's got that little better than sign, like like them crocodile things you get told in math. I can't do it. I've tried watching 3 separate times. 36:54 is the longest I've lasted watching this, and it felt like 2 hours. I hate every vocal performance besides the fly that loved being burned alive. None of these characters are fun or funny. Flick is just annoying as the main space chimp, and the princess are just as bad. The premise is so bottom of the barrel, it's borderline comedic. Maybe it gets better, but I'll never find out. Time to pirate Severance. The knockoff Bugs Life movie is better. Barely watched it though. Edit, the fake bloopers give me the ick. My dad likes this movie, so naturally I hate it. Half a cool point for you. It's actually good. It deserves 4 cool points, but I don't care. The only reason the Disney overlords let this excellent anti-capitalistic message slide is that the entire movie is so ugly and boring they knew no one would take it seriously. How did they make me so viscerally hate a ladybug of all things? Let's do one more negative and then we'll move on to positive. I loathe this movie. Every time I was younger, we had rainy days in school. They'd play this movie in the filthy auditorium every single time. I've been forced to watch this godforsaken movie dozens of times. I cannot stand it. It's not even a good movie and their names are all stupid. And if I have to watch it ever again, I will bash my head into a wall. That person definitely did not like A Bug's Life. I will say though, when I watched it as a child, it wasn't one that interested me a lot. So I haven't watched it in ages. But then watching it again today, it does, like, because as again, like a lot of these films aren't films I would go out on my way to watch. But it was quite an interesting watch, and so yeah, it was fun. Now we're on to the good comments. Another childhood classic. I love Pixar films. This film was deep as fuck for a kids movie. I know damn well Kevin Spacey was bricked up reading his character will be nibbled by little chicks. No comment, but yeah. It's A Bug's Life. How could you not? Watch this many times growing up. I think it's a perfect film. The grasshoppers are insanely funny and they mimic motorcycle clubs, which is awesome. In A Bug's Life Part 2, I'm sure one of them goes rough and joins the roaches. This movie felt like a fever dream, but I'll always love it. Still a 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 film throughout all these years, from the comedy to the great message of teamwork. I get sad when I watch this movie because everybody glosses over it for some reason. Ants rising up against fascist grasshoppers. Come on, this movie is powerful stuff. Ants don't serve grasshoppers. It's you who needs us. May the exploited I cannot say that word. Proletarian. Oh my! I can't even attempt to do that now. But yeah, so you might have to Google it yourself. It's Proletariat. I had no idea how to pronounce it. The combination of the butterfly synonym of beauty and elegance with the praying mantis synonym of calm and intelligence is just too perfect for me. I don't care what anyone says, this movie was so good. Workers of the world, unite. You have nothing to lose but your chains. A Bug's Life, when the wasps destroyed the ants' den and ate the ones that ran. I have no idea what that means. Rated 5 stars because I love class action against abusers of power, and because my girlfriend loves this movie. That is all. The means of production belong to the workers' ants. I'll never underestimate an ant again. Funny, friendly, fantastic. Who wouldn't want to be a bug? Pixar 8 with this one. Can we bring this style of animation back, please? Little ants had so much character in their faces. I love this movie so much. Maybe I'm biased because of nostalgia, but I literally don't care. Cutest movie, one of my faves. Fun one to watch. Hi. Bug. This is a true masterpiece and no one can convince me otherwise. Absolutely incredible. Chills every time. Entertaining with an ant emoji. What? That is a great review. Entertaining. Come on. That's the early era Pixar bliss. Okay, this movie is so good. I cannot believe it. This movie is a little bit sad when they take away their food. This movie is an iconic movie. I love it. It's an amazing movie, and it should be watched over and over again because it's an amazing film or animation. This movie is an interesting movie because it brings to life insects. This movie is so magical that there is a Disneyland theme park revolving around this movie. Watch this movie. Wanna watch insects. The ladybug is there. This is cinema. Let me know why I was like fully cackling out loud to this. Underrated. This is definitely one of the most underrated Pixar films. I think some of that has to do with the fact that this one was released between Toy Story 2, two Toy Story films, which are beloved by so many people. This has a small scale story, but I think that it works to its advantage. This is also very funny, and I found myself laughing at so many of the jokes. I don't watch this one that often, but when I do, it's a great time. Sandwiched between the first two entries of the greatest animated franchise. No sequels, no TV shows or shorts, no representation in rides or attractions at any Disney parks, and no string of merchandising or appearance on backpacks or lunchboxes, it seems that many modern audiences forget about the existence of A Bug's Life, let alone that it is an absolute masterpiece of cinematic craft. A 10 out of 10, no bones about it. Do you enjoy being entertained? So, there's like a lot of people who love and hate this, because last week I picked out their names. A couple of days after that, I was looking through like Reddit, and there's like a Pixar group, and people there like saying about like A Bug's Life. They're saying like, oh, just like, why doesn't Bug's Life get love? And I was just there thinking stuff. I was like, I'm doing a podcast about this like this week, and so it's like quite good timing, I thought, for me to see that and then also do it, which also could be a thing of like my phone's listening in on me. It's like, you know what, Jay, we heard you're doing Pixar and like Bug's Life next week. Here's a post about Pixar's Bug's Life. Okay, so yeah, if anyone's listening into my phone now, it's I would like a McDonald's. Okay, so we've got our pick for next week, which we're going to go through. Which I'm going to look that way so I don't see it. The next film out of our poster is it's a blue card. Goodfellas. I have no idea what this film is about, but it's on the poster. I'll get the poster. Here it is, the poster. What? The ones that we scratched off for the podcast so far is The Goonies and Kill Bill. There are 3 on the bottom, which I have scratched off, but that was because I'd watched them in my personal time. But I have put them in the box, so they will be part of the podcast at some point. So even though I have already scratched them off, I still thought it'd be quite interesting to include them in anyway, because then it's like people who like that film can also see that as well. So yeah, that's all I've got for now. But that was talking about the Pixar film A Bug's Life. Thank you for watching this week. Let me know your thoughts on The Bug's Life, because reading those comments, there was a lot of like positive and negative reviews, and some of that could be because of actors who voiced in that film. Yeah. So again, I quite enjoyed the film because it was just like a fun little film to watch on a Monday. I almost said Sunday, but it's not Sunday, it's Monday. It's movie Mondays. But yeah, it's quite enjoyable. I did have to, because I was like switching between what screen I was watching it on, and so yeah, just like taking time to go like walking to different places to go and continue watching my film, because there's loudness outside. So yeah, anyway, I'm getting off like all thrown off. Thanks for listening to this episode of Movie Mondays. This was episode number 5. Again, Goodfellas next week. I haven't seen that film, so I have no idea what to expect. If it's got loads of blood again, I will not be happy. Like if it's like Kill Bill with that amount of blood, because I don't like blood. Or if it's got anything to do with eyes, I will not like. So we'll see how it goes. You might know how Goodfellas goes, but you'll have to wait till next week to see it. Okay, I'm going to stop talking now, and I'll say like back up, get out of your personal space. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye.